old LA Times building.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where we are. So it's super convenient because it's not far from the Gold Line. It's right off the freeway. So
Freeway.
Right in the parking lot. So we have good for our meeting. So it kind of hit everything we were looking for.
The upper district, I think they are now in there because I can see that there are cars actually parked in the parking lot and there's no more the temporary fencing around, so you can't look in. So it looks like there's at least somebody occupying the building now, but it's taken them, this has been now years.
Crazy. I think we now have a quorum. And before we start, I did want to say, if you haven't noticed, we've been rotating which staff is hosting the meeting and staffing the meeting. So today, Carrie is going to be doing it. She's one of our senior project managers. She's amazing. She, as we mentioned before, she came to us from LA County Public Works, and she's in charge of the very exciting Montebello project. So yes, she will be our staff lead for today. But with that, I will turn it over to Chair Lyons to start the meeting.
I think you're going to turn it over to Chair Moss.
Oh my God, what did I say? I'm sorry. Okay. Chair Moss, sorry.
No
Thanksgiving
worries.
brain. I'm sorry.
No, we have a lot going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Capital Projects and Construction Committee to order. And before we begin today's meeting, Janine, do you have any instructions?
Yes, we do. Thank you for joining today's committee meeting. As always, please note that today's meeting is conducted via Zoom webinar. Members of the committee who are attending via Zoom are encouraged to raise their hand when they have a comment or would like to ask a question. Our staff will call on the members in order of receive requests. Members of the public can provide verbal public comments by raising their hands during the beginning of the agenda item that they would like to comment on. Please note that verbal public comments are limited to 3 minutes each. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Janine. And as Marissa mentioned, the Senior Project Manager, Carrie Insion, is that right? Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, that's correct.
Is going to be facilitating the meeting, and then the staff leads from each item will give their presentations. And so at this time, let's go ahead and proceed. I would like to ask President Shevlin if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Certainly. Please stand if you are able, and all else, please mute your mics. Place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, President Shevlin. And Janine, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Moss.
Present.
Vice Chair Hepburn.
Present.
Madam President Shevlin.
Here.
Supervisor Solis. Absent. Member Jakubowski.
Here.
Member Lyons.
Present.
Member Mahmood.
Here.
Member Morales. Absent. Member Jimenez. Absent. Member Sandoval.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you very much, Janine. Okay, that brings us to the public comment section. And Janine, have you received any requests for any public comments today?
Not at this time.
Okay, and we don't have anyone on the line here that has any public comment. Okay, we're not seeing anyone. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Do we have any public comment requests as to the consent calendar?
I don't believe we do, Chair Moss, but I'm going to ask Janine to confirm that.
I don't see any raised hands.
I'll move approval then, Lyons.
Second, Hepburn.
Shevlin.
Oh,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Yes.
Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hepburn,
yes.
Madam President Shevlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Solis. Absent. Member Jakubowski,
Yes.
Member Lyons,
Yes.
Member Mahmood,
Yes.
Member Morales. Absent. Member Jimenez. Absent. Member Sandoval.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. And that brings us to item number 6, action items. Yanni, do we have any public comment requests as to the action items?
Not at this time.
Okay, and then do we have any public comments for the presentation? It's not numbered.
I don't see any raised hands from, oh, I'm sorry, Josh Nelson raised his hand.
Okay, Mr. Nelson?
Hi, Chair Moss and members of the committee, and I apologize for not bringing this up to staff before today. I just was looking at the agenda here before the meeting, but I think between some of the turnover in staff at the COG and also at the City of Industry here too, I'm not sure that we've fully reviewed all the legal descriptions that are in the resolution of necessity. So I'm hoping that maybe between now and the governing board, we can have the opportunity to comment if needed. It might be fine. Everything could be great. But I know you guys are making the recommendation, or the recommendation is to go to the governing board today. And so I just asked that we'd have a chance to comment if needed before that, and make any tweaks to it so that the final one, that goes to them has those changes if needed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Carrie?
At this time, Chair Moss, I'm going to ask John Bechet to proceed with his presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Moss and members of the committee. I will provide the background of the Turnbull Canyon Grade Separation Project and the design options. A brief introduction remarks regarding the resolution of necessity will be provided by our legal counsel, David DeBerry, and the specific facts of each resolution of necessity will be provided by the project's right-of-way consultant, project manager, Danny Mendoza. Next slide. The Turnbull Canyon Grade Separation Project is located within the City of Industry and Los Angeles County. This project was ranked 18th on the California Grade Separation Fund Priority List for fiscal year 2021. The Turnbull Canyon project was awarded $5 million of Section 190 funding by the California Public Utility Commission and is programmed to receive $29 million in state SB1 funds. The California Transportation Commission, CTC, will consider allocating the $29 million funding for the project by May of 2023. This project is anticipated to be awarded by the end of 2023, and construction starts in early 2024. Next slide. The following design options were considered at the beginning of the project. First, raising Union Pacific Railroad tracks over Turnbull Canyon Road. Second, lowering Union Pacific tracks under Turnbull Canyon Road. Third, lowering Turnbull Canyon Road under the Union Pacific tracks. Fourth, raising Turnbull Canyon Road over Union Pacific tracks. And last is not to build a grade separation and do nothing. Based on the evaluation criteria of vehicular movement, impacts to adjacent residential and business areas, property acquisitions, safety, noise, and traffic congestion, the preferred option was to build an overpass, which is Turnbull Canyon to go over the Union Pacific tracks. Next slide. Now our legal counsel, David DeBerry, will provide a brief introduction remarks regarding the resolution of necessity. David?
Yes, thank you, John. And again, I apologize to the committee for some reason my camera is not working. Before I start, I also wanted to introduce one of the partners in my law firm, Craig Farrington, and he's heading up the eminent domain acquisition. So if there's specific legal questions with respect to any of the particular RONs, I'll probably defer to Mr. Farrington to answer those questions. But as was mentioned earlier, as you, I think all of you are aware, we now have a two-step process for adoptions of the resolution of necessity. First, it comes before the Capital Projects Committee to make a recommendation to the governing board whether or not to consider the final adoption of the resolutions of necessity. And what we're asking this committee to do is, in making that recommendation, to consider the same four things that the governing board needs to consider under the eminent domain law as to whether or not the resolutions of necessity should be adopted. And those are on the screen before you. I'll just go through them quickly. And when we go into more detail on each resolution of necessity, the findings and the facts behind making these findings will be presented by Mr. Mendoza, who's a project manager. So the first one is the public interest and necessity require the project. The second, the proposed project is planned or located in a manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and least private injury. The acquisitions of interest in the property is necessary for the proposed project. And the last one is that the COG has made offers to purchase interest in the property as required by the government code. So for this, while a 2/3 vote will be needed at the governing board to adopt the resolution of necessity, because this is only a recommendation, it'll just require a simple majority of the committee. And I'm going to repeat this at the governing board meeting as well, but that 2/3 vote is of the entire body. So if we could get you all to show up for the governing board meeting, we certainly would appreciate it, because we're going to need as many people there as possible. Let's see. Oh, and one last thing, we do have something in our bylaws that says that if the property owner or the property owner attorney or the representative appears at this meeting and comments on it, then that will be it will be deemed as if they had commented before the governing board. And with that, if there are no questions relating to that part of the process, Danny, you were going to take it from here, correct?
Correct. I'll take it over.
Okay.
All right. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to touch a little bit on the parcels here. This is a 22 parcel project.
Danny, sorry to interrupt you, but I see President Shevely has her hand up.
Okay.
I did, and David DeBerry, yes. I did have a question, given the public comment item about the legal descriptions. Is there anything that we need to be considering as a part of this recommendation?
No, on the legal descriptions, though, we can't change the take because we've already made an offer. So we could certainly have Mr. Nelson take a look at those. But as far as the property that we're taking, those can't be modified. Otherwise, we'll have to make a new offer. So we'll have to just get together with Josh after the meeting and see what his concerns might be. But if they don't change, they don't change the property interest that we've made an offer for, then we'll be fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a 22 parcel project. Right now we have possession of the majority of those parcels. Right now, for this run, we're looking at 8 parcels. Those 8 parcels are identified on the table that's listed right underneath the project map. So I'll go into each one of those parcels. If you can just go down to the next slide. First parcel's up, going to be RON number 2254, followed by that's going to be Turnbull Management, followed by 2255 Reeves, 2256 Cho. Next slide is going to be Cho as well, 2257, 2258, 515 Turnbull Canyon, 2259 Turnbull Management. On to the next one, 2260 Corporate Logistics, and the last one will be 2261 Pudo Descansando. So if we can go to the next slide, I'm going to touch a little bit on 2254, which is Turnbull Management. Turnbull Management's a 242,000 square foot lot zoned for manufacturing. Sits on the northwest corner of Turnbull Canyon Road and Clark Avenue. There are 4 takes on this property. Those takes include a 4,942 square foot roadway easement, a 3,213 square foot bridge easement, 154 square foot SEE anchor easement, and a 60-month 10,455 square foot TCE. This property right now is operated by Roll-Off Services. This is the one property on this project that has the potential for relocation. This portion of the property is part of a larger parcel, and this portion is being heavily impacted. I think if we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this slide here shows what the impact is here. What's shaded in that teal color is the temporary construction easement, 60 months. What's shown in the purple is going to be the roadway easement. This is going to be the end of a cul-de-sac. And what you can see hashed in green, closer to the railroad tracks, is the bridge easement for the pedestrian overcrossing bridge. And if you can see in yellow, it's a small piece, that's the proposed SE anchor easement. This property was appraised by Thomas Pike July 1st of this year and was reviewed by Hennessy and Hennessy September 7th. And an offer was made to the property owner on October 14th. The next parcel. So the next parcel is 2255. This is the Reeves parcel. It sits at 15151 Salt Lake Avenue. It's approximately 32,000 square foot lot, zoned for storage and office space. Sits on the northwest corner of Turnbull Canyon Road and Lake. There are 3 proposed takes on this property. The first take is a 4,020 square foot roadway easement. The second is a 506 square foot SCE anchor easement. And the last is a 60-month, 4,741 square foot temporary construction easement. This property is operated by Pacific Coast Pallets. This property also has some significant impacts. Although they are significant, they are all being looked at. If you can go to the next slide that shows where those takes are. So again, in purple, we have the roadway easement, which impacts the parking. Access will be maintained throughout construction. The temporary construction easement does impact their office building, which you can see on the lower right-hand corner. As part of the construction, that it's a movable building, and that'll be moved in outside of the TCE area. There is a Edison easement that's going to be impacting the restroom facilities. Those are also going to be relocated. An appraisal was prepared by Tom Pike on July 1st and reviewed by Hennessy and Hennessy September 7th. And an offer was made on October 14th. Again, this parcel here has some impacts to the operations of the business. We did decide that even with these impacts, the property would be able to maintain their business and circulation. On to the next one. So the next parcel is RON number 2256. It's owned by Cho. It sits at 617 Turnbull Canyon Road. It's approximately 12,500 square feet, zoned for residential, sits on the west side of Turnbull Canyon, just north of Salt Lake Avenue. There are 3 proposed takes on this property. Those takes are a 16 square foot roadway easement, a 102 square foot SEE easement, and a 60-month, 1,027 square foot temporary construction easement. We can go to the next slide. So this is a single family residence. As you can see that the temporary construction easement does impact the majority of their front yard. The SCE easement is a permanent easement that that SCE is requiring for the placement of a transformer. That'll be sitting in their front yard. We did confirm that 1 tree will have to be removed due to the SCE anchor easement, but we did confirm also that access will be maintained for the entire property throughout construction. This property here was appraised by Integra Realty August 23rd, and reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy on September 7th, and an offer was made on October 14th. Next one. Next one is RON number 2257. This property is also owned by Cho. It sits next to the previous property. This property has an address of 611 and 613 Turnbull Canyon Road. Again, this is 2 lots that total approximately 15,500 square feet. This property is different from the neighboring property. It's zoned for industrial and multifamily. This property does have 2 proposed takes, smaller and less impactful than the neighboring parcel. This has 2 temporary construction easements. One is for 500 square feet. The other one is for 625 square feet. They're both 60 months. You can go to the next slide. So this property here does have the temporary construction easements. There are no significant impacts. Access will be maintained to both properties throughout construction. And an appraisal was prepared by Integra on August 23rd, reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy on September 7th, and an offer was made October 14th. The next one. This is RON number 2258. Owner is 515 Turnbull Canyon LLC. This is a parcel that's approximately 175,000 square feet, zoned for industrial warehouse, sits on the west side of Turnbull Canyon Road, just south of Don Julian Road. There are 3 proposed takes on this property. Those takes include, if you can go to the next slide, those takes include a 34 square foot roadway easement, a 5-foot footing easement, and a 11,290 square foot temporary construction easement for a duration of 60 months. The property is operated by Bagcraft. The roadway easement is very, very small, and it sits on the north side of the property. You can see it here. It's outlined in purple. The teal color represents the temporary construction easement. It does impact several trees and shrubs. Also impacts their block wall, which will be replaced in kind as part of construction. Although impacting the driveways, access will be maintained throughout construction. And on this property here, an appraisal was prepared by Thomas Pike on July 1st, reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy on July 25th, and an offer was made to the property owner on October 14th. All right, next one. Next one is RON number 2259. The property is owned by Turnbull Canyon Properties. It's approximately 2,056,000 square feet. It's zoned for industrial warehouse. It sits on the east side of Turnbull Canyon Road, just north of Clark. So now we've switched to the other side of Turnbull. There are two proposed takes on this property. The first take is a 68 square foot roadway easement and a 60-month, 12,838 square foot temporary construction easement. You can go to the next slide. So this property is operated by Rio Water Technology. There are impacts to the landscape area. The TCE will require the removal of shrubs and a few small trees. Access will be maintained throughout construction of this property. As of last week, we did strike a deal with this property owner, and we are waiting for signed offer acceptance and agreements. This property was appraised by Thomas Pike on July 1st and was reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy September 7th, and an offer was made October 14th. Okay, next one. This is RON number 2260. This property is owned by Corporate Logistics LLC. The property is approximately 592,000 square feet. It's zoned for heavy manufacturing. This property also sits on the east side of Turnbull Canyon Road, just south of Clark. There are three proposed takes on this property. The first take is a roadway easement. That's 12,755 square feet. There's an SE easement, 161 square feet, and a 60-month, 12,880 square foot temporary construction easement. You can go to the next slide. So this property here has some larger areas. Although larger, they're mostly within the landscaping area. The roadway easement will require the removal of several trees and their concrete wall, which will be replaced during construction. We also confirmed that access will be maintained throughout construction on this property. There is a small SEE anchor easement on the north side of the property. You can see it's outlined in yellow. We did confirm that that did not impact any parking stalls. This property was appraised by Integra on August 23rd. That was reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy on September 7th, and an offer was made to the property owner on October 14th. Okay, next one. This is our last one. This is RON number 2261. Property owner is Puro Descansando Partners. The property is approximately 195,000 square feet. It's zoned for light manufacturing, also on the east side of Turnbull Canyon Road, just south of Salt Lake Avenue. There are three proposed takes on this property. Those takes include a 4,501 square foot roadway easement, a 247 square foot SCE easement, and a 60-month, 15,512 square foot temporary construction easement. You can go to the next slide, please. So this is a fairly large property that's broken up into two different businesses. On the south, we have a company by the name of WCC Honey, which has some impacts. They have parking along the frontage of Turnbull Canyon Road that is planned to be replaced with additional parking on the property to the south, which is owned by Southern California Edison. We will be replacing parking for parking. So we're going to be able to match what parking they currently have. This property here, we put together a construction phasing plan that confirmed that access will be maintained throughout construction using various methods. The property to the north is a Spectrum parking lot. The proposed SCE anchor easement will require the loss of at least 2 parking stalls. The property will maintain code compliant even with the removal of those 2 parking spaces. Very similar to the honey manufacturing, access will be maintained throughout construction. So again, this is a larger parcel, 2 property owners. We do have a construction phasing plan that does confirm consistent access through construction. This property was appraised by Integra Realty on September 19th, was reviewed by Hennessy & Hennessy September 23rd, and an offer was made to the property owner on October 14th. So that concludes our parcels as part of this resolution.
All right, colleagues, do we have any questions or comments on these items? I see Vice Chair Hepburn has his hand up. We'll start with him. Tim, go ahead.
Just a question. So basically, all the offers as stated in the packet have been made, but the one offer, which was a couple parcels back, you're in negotiations to settle that. Is that correct?
Correct. That's for 210S. That's RON number 2259.
2259. But everyone else, it's still in their hands. No response yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
This is David DeVere. I just want to clarify. So the one offer has been accepted. We just weren't able to get a final signature on that particular agreement before this matter. And of course, negotiations will continue with all the property owners, irrespective of what the committee does here, or even up to and past the time the board adopts the resolutions of necessity.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Member Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. I think I have really the same question that Tim just asked. You know, this is a lot, and the fact that there's only one deal struck, have we heard back from the other property owners? Or, you know, what's going on? Is it way too low? Can you shed any light on, you know, why there's so many that haven't responded yet, or there's only one deal?
So we are going over 8 here, but the project has a total of 22 parcels. The remainder of the parcels we have already struck deals with, and those ones are pretty much already done. These are the last remaining parcels.
Right. No, I saw that, but it just definitely seems like, you know, a lot. And I'm wondering, the 2 that are residential, are there people living in there, those houses?
There are people living in there, correct?
In both properties, there's people living in there?
Yes.
Okay. And are we, did we suggest to them they move, or do we suggest to them that they live there during this? Or do we at all?
Yeah, the impacts are minor, that aren't going to trigger any type of relocation. And we do have plans to maintain access throughout the entire construction schedule. So at this time right now, there is no need to move.
Well, access is one thing, but having your front yard taken away and looking at all that for that length of time, I don't know, that seems like another. So my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, understood. And then just so everybody is made aware, the temporary construction easements are for 60 months, but the actual occupied time is significantly less than that. The occupied time is somewhere between 30 to 60 days. So the construction contractor doesn't use the temporary construction easement for the full duration.
So what you're saying is the 2 residential pieces of property that they'll only lose their part of their property for 30 to 60 days?
So there is a small roadway easement on one of the properties, which we're calling a roadway easement, and SCE does have a utility easement there as well. But as far as everything that we saw that was outlined in that teal color, although it looks significant, that's only for a temporary period of anywhere between, you know, again, 60 or 30 to 60 days.
Right. I'm just thinking people are living there. So, okay.
Understood.
Okay, let's go to Member Mahmood.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mendoza, first, my compliments on the clarity of the presentation. It always really helps to have the photos and an identification of the area. And I think you did a good job on that. I have several questions for different folks. I think the first regards funding. If we assume that we've got CTC, that we will get CTC approval for the 29 million next year, does that then, when combined with the prior allocations, mean that we'll have sufficient funding for construction? And if not, then what other pots of funding are we going to pursue?
If I may answer this one, Member Mahmood. So we have 29 of SB1 funding plus the 5 million of Section 190 funding. The remaining shortfall, currently we're discussing with the City of Industry to fully fund the remaining constructions, and also with Metro MTA. And Marissa, if you would like to add.
Sure. So we actually have sufficient funding through our MSP, through our Measure M funding. The issue is the years that it's programmed in. So we're working with Metro to facilitate basically a loan with ourselves to advance the funding, but we do have sufficient funds to do the project.
Good to hear. Okay, thank you. My second question goes to our general counsel. So for the one property for which an offer has been accepted, are you suggesting that we nevertheless include that one in our recommendation to the governing board? And if not, which one is it again?
It's
Yes,
it's Ron number, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Danny, I'm sorry.
So the one that's in question is Ron number 2259, and it has an Sgvcog number of 210S.
Okay, so that's number 7 then on our listed identification of properties. And then for our general counsel, do we need separate motions, or can we make a consolidated motion?
We can make a single motion, and I think your other question was whether we want to go forward. And as you well know, until we actually get it in writing, they've orally offered or accepted the settlement, but we want to just get it in writing. And if we do reach a written agreement between now and the board meeting, then we'll rescind it at that time.
Great, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you, Member Mahmood. And now let's go to Member Jakubowski.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. I am going to follow up with where Tim and Nancy were with the concerns. The Chu family, so they have 2 parcels, and one is currently not being used as a resident. Since the resident seems to be, as we've agreed, fairly heavily impacted, is additional compensation offered to take that into account as opposed to industrial or manufacturing?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. The way that the property was valued at its highest and best use. And as far as compensation amount, it took that highest, which was zoned for industrial.
Thank you. That's a great answer to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Do we have any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, if we don't have anything further, aside from, again, addressing, oh, I'm sorry, Member Mahmood, did you have another question?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, just one sec. Yeah, so, and I do believe we answered the question when Member Shevlin about addressing Mr. Nelson's concerns, so that you guys can get together and talk about any of that. And then if there's nothing further, I will go ahead and entertain a motion. Member Mahmood?
Yes, I will move that this committee recommends that the governing board approve the resolutions of necessity for parcels that are identified on our agenda as items number 1 through 9.
Second, Hepburn.
Very good, thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hepburn,
Yes.
Madam President Shevlin,
Yes.
Supervisor Solis, absent. Member Jakubowski,
Yes.
Member Lyons,
Yes.
Member Mahmood,
Yes.
Member Morales, absent. Member Jimenez, absent. Member Sandoval,
Yes.
the motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. And that will bring us to item number 7, Director of Capital Projects Monthly Report. To Yanin, do we have any public comment requests on this item?
Not at this time.
Okay, can we proceed with the report?
Thank you, Chair Moss. So Chair Moss and Vice Chair Hepburn and members of the committee, in addition to the monthly report from the Director of Capital Projects that you received as part of your agenda packet, that we are asking you to receive and file. I'd like to highlight just a couple of items on that report that are milestones that we will be meeting in between today's meeting and the next meeting, which we're expecting to be in January of 2023. So the first item that I wanted to highlight is for Montebello Boulevard Grade Separation Project. COG staff will be going to the CTC meeting in December 7, 8 in Riverside, in support of the anticipated award of funding for this project, worth $49 million in TCEP funding, $18.851 million in TCIF funding, and $5.906 million in ATP Cycle 6 funding. Our design consultant is preparing the invitation for bids package as we speak, and we're hoping to put that out on the street in early 2023. The next item that I wanted to highlight on the report is for the 5760 interchange project. The invitation for bids package was issued in October. The project is currently out to bid. Bids are due on December 9th. And the engineer's estimate for that is $285 million. And we anticipate the start of construction beginning in spring of 2023. And that concludes my short presentation.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Do we have any questions or comments on this item from any of the members? And if not, then the recommended action is to receive and file. So we will do that. And that will take us to item number 8. And Yanin, do we have any public comments requests for this item?
No. Not at this. And I don't see hands either.
Okay, thank you. Carrie?
Chair Moss and Vice Chair Hepburn and members of the committee, we will be providing you progress updates on major projects in construction right now. First, we will have the Diamond Bar Golf Course project presented by Renee. Then we will have the Fairway Drive project and the Fullerton grade separation projects, both of which will be presented by Gary Cardamone. Thank you.
Renee? Good afternoon. Construction continues on the Diamond Bar Golf Course project. In this pipe, you see we're making progress with the 120-inch reinforced concrete pipe. It's a pretty large pipe. Once we got into excavating, it's moving along pretty quick. The next set of activities is connecting the joints and backfilling it. So it's hopefully we get it in by some of the rainy season that's coming up. Next slide. In this slide, to your right is a piece of pipe that's been laid, and to the left of it is the other one that connects to the Caltrans system. So in the middle, what we're going to do, it's a cast in place transition structure. It's how you connect the box to a circular pipe. So We're making progress on that. It's a lot of rebar. It's we're hoping to have that in the next couple of weeks. Next slide. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you drive on the freeway, the block wall for the new maintenance building is up. It's a pretty large maintenance building. This is a concrete slab, the floor. So you saw a lot of rebar. We've been putting all of the utilities in there. So now that we put the utilities, we're laying the concrete down. And the last slide. And yeah, some of the concrete's been curing, some of it's been drying. The next steps is to start erecting the steel for the physical building. So we hope to have the building up pretty soon. And then what we're going to do is move into that new building as part of our field office in the meantime, so we can start clearing out the parking lot. That concludes my presentation for the Diamond Bar Golf Course, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Renee. Do we have any questions or comments on this item? Okay. If there are none, then we have the next presentation.
Chair Moss, members of the committee, I think we have a few photos taken recently from the Fairway project. So the first photo, as you know, we got a fair amount of rain in early November. Created a little bit of a problem for us in the underpass area of the bridge. And unfortunately, the project's pump station, which would have mitigated this situation, is not yet operational. So this set us back a few days while the area dried out. Next photo, Yanine. This next photo shows this area after it did dry out and work was being performed by the Southern Cal Edison contractor installing electrical conduit and fairway. The SCE work will continue into early December. Walnut Valley Water District is still finishing up their work in Fairway and Business Parkway. Once all the underground utility work is completed in Fairway, the contractor will begin the roadway improvements in Fairway, which we expect will begin sometime in December. Next slide, Yanine, please. This third photo shows a concrete pour for the footing of a retaining wall on the west side of the THTC property at Business Parkway in Fairway. Retaining wall and sound wall work is continuing on both the UP right-of-way and on adjacent private property. The last schedule update from the contractor showing project completion around the end of March of next year. And we're still hoping that we can make that date if the weather cooperates over the next few months. That's all I have on Fairway today. If happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Gary. I see a raised hand from Vice Chair Hepburn. Tim?
Gary, could you please go back to that first slide? I just wanted to make a point. I want you all to look back on the side by those two boom lifts back there, the blue ones. That is not a good thing when an outhouse is halfway up with water. So just so you guys know that. Being in construction, that is not a good thing. So anyway, that's a lot of water because that's about probably almost 3.5 feet, 4 feet. That's a lot. So anyway, hey, just gotta throw that out there, guys. Anyway, thank you, Gary.
That's a lot of water. I was actually out of town when that storm hit, so I just heard from everybody, you know, what a tremendous amount of rain we got. But wow, that
yeah, we had 3 inches in Laverne up here where I live, and it was crazy. But I can only imagine that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
So Gary, you said the pump station that we have was not operational. Did this just dry out on its own, or did we have some other way of pumping water out of there?
Well, yes, the contractor did manually, if you will, pump the area dry, but we're very close to commissioning the pump station. Unfortunately, we just didn't have it online prior to this storm hitting, which would have made the situation much better.
That would have been too much like the right thing to happen. You had to get a storm just before you got it finished. Okay, so if there's no further questions or comments, do we have any other presentation?
We do not, Chair Moss. Oh, I'm
Well, we
sorry.
do have
Fullerton. So I'm so sorry.
Yeah, in Fullerton, I do want to spend maybe a little more time than usual. I've got this first photo is looking north along Fullerton at the westbound SR60 off ramp. This photo was taken last Tuesday morning, November 14th, after the contractor had completed the roadway striping during a closure the prior evening, and the new improved roadway was open to traffic that morning. You can see the two left turn lanes onto westbound Gale and the one right turn lane onto eastbound Gale, and three southbound lanes on Fullerton. Next photo, Janine. The second photo is looking at the intersection from west to east, and you can see the two lanes in each direction along Gale with right and left turn lanes from Gale onto southbound Fullerton. We still have some minor work to do at the intersection and at some of the surrounding businesses, including fencing, handrails, irrigation, and landscaping. But the good news is that we were able to open the three legs of the intersection ahead of the Thanksgiving date as promised, which hopefully will ease some of the traffic challenges at this location in the city of Industry. Next photo. The third photo is looking west along the Union Pacific Railroad right away at Fullerton. And you can see just right of the tracks, there are a couple of large excavations which are necessary to construct the 10-foot wide by 4-foot high reinforced concrete box storm drain that has been rerouted around the underpass in a horseshoe configuration to the north and must go under the shoe fly and the new mainline tracks. You can also see the temporary retaining wall supporting the mainline tracks at these excavations. You may recall last month I advised you that we were about 4 months behind schedule due to the challenges in obtaining Union Pacific approvals to perform work in their right-of-way, and that we would be looking for opportunities to mitigate those delays. The need to mitigate these past delays became very urgent this month, and I wanted to bring to your attention today that we have had to direct the contractor to accelerate the work on the shoe fly, as we were notified by a UPRR representative on November 1st that if we miss the scheduled shoe fly cutover date of February 1st of 2023, that the UP crews were committed to other work and there would not be any other opportunities for UP crews to perform the cutover work until 2024. That would mean an approximately 1-year delay to the project. And obviously that would represent a significant impact, not only to the schedule, but also on the cost of the project. So we immediately directed the contractor to prepare an acceleration plan to meet the scheduled cutover date. The costs to accelerate are significant, on the order of $1.3 million. But the cost implications of a 1-year delay would be even worse. The contractor has received the necessary commitments from their subs and is optimistic that we can meet the cutover date barring unforeseen events such as severe inclement weather or unforeseen conditions at the site. We met with the UP supervisor responsible for scheduling the crews this morning, and he has confirmed that the crews are scheduled to be at the Fullerton site in January to begin prepping for the cutover, and that the crews are committed for the remainder of 2023. Our plan is to initially utilize existing allowance funds in the contract to authorize this work. But there may be a need to come back to the committee for additional authorizations to use budgeted contingency funds at a future date as the work progresses. That concludes my comments on Fullerton. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. And yes, I would expect we do have several comments on this. So we'll start with Member Hepburn. Tim?
Sorry about that. Okay. So basically, all these delays were caused by UPRR. And now they're telling us that after all these delays with UPRR, that now we have to accelerate because they will not be available for us after they've made all the delays because of their engineering and whatever we had, and an additional 1 point some, which will probably be more than that because knowing overtime and everything else and acceleration, that's very frustrating. I can only imagine, Gary, what you're feeling right now. And I mean, I know we've talked about this and notifying, this is taxpayer dollars. This is very frustrating to me. I know previous Chair Lyons, and I know Chair Moss and everyone else, and Diana Mahmood, everyone involved. This is our taxpayer dollars, and it's just a waste of money that we had because of the fact that they held us up so tremendously. It's beyond frustration for me. Understanding we need to do it, it has to be done. But at the end of the day, these people need some oversight. This is just ridiculous of what they cost us. And just for the shoe fly and just making the decision on how, when, and where. And now they're going to tell us that they have to be done because otherwise it'll be years before we can get this done. That's just ridiculous. I'm just frustrated. Obviously, we have to move forward, but there's got to be some kind of repercussions for EPR. It's got to be. We've got to figure out something. And whether it's a direct conversation with our higher electeds to say, this is just ridiculous. It's wasting taxpayer money. It's wasting time in construction and frustration, stopping a project from moving forward. And not only that, this has been an absolute traffic jam for these people in this area. I was there before you opened up those streets, and I'll tell you, it was absolutely, and mind you, you guys did a great job with what you had. But the point was, it restricted flow and traffic, and that's a very, very congested area. I used to travel that all the time to go to Home Depot, and it's got zigs and zags, and it's just, and the traffic lights, and a 10-minute, anywhere from a 6 to a 10-minute delay. Now that it's open, I'm sure that's much better, but it's just, I think I've been frustrated enough there. I think I said enough, but just the point is, I think we need to probably speak to our higher electeds to make sure this doesn't happen again, because it's just costing us taxpayers, all of us, additional money to finish this. So anyway, you're doing a great job. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I know you're under your control and what you've got with them. It's just very frustrating. Thank you.
It has been very, very frustrating. We are going to do everything we can to meet that cutover date because there really are no good options.
Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you, Tim. Let's go ahead and go to, I think Chair Lyons had her hand up next. Member Lyons had her hand up next. Nancy, you're still a chair.
I love being a chair, so maybe I'll just take that with me out to the sunset.
Yeah.
I agree with everything Tim said completely. And when we started the conversation this morning on Fullerton Road grade separation, and we heard that intersection opened 2 weeks early, I think all of us were feeling, oh, well, that's a really good thing. And finally, something's going right for this project. But, UPRR is back again and our worst nemesis. And in terms of trying to go to electeds to get help, I think they're governed by Congress, aren't they? Who governs them?
They're under federal regulations, but it's a private railroad.
Yeah, and they know that. They seem to just do whatever they want, and they don't care what it's costing us. They're probably laughing. It's just a terrible situation, and I know my colleagues will give it serious thought and figure out how to fix it. So it's awful. Gary, we don't hold you responsible for this, and really appreciate the fact that you're being forthright with this bad news. But it's just disgusting. Thank you.
Yes, I do share your frustration, and I've asked David, our general counsel, to look at those agreements with UP. It seems like we fully indemnify them for these kinds of delays, which is certainly unfortunate. But if there's any recourse, it would be through those agreements, the master and the COM agreements that we have signed with UP. But they seem to be fully indemnified for these kinds of issues.
And that's so frustrating in the sense that, I mean, obviously I guess we have to do that. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to even, get shovels in the ground to start doing these projects. But I mean, they answer to no one, it seems. Anyway, I apologize. I'm speaking out of turn. Let's go to Member Mahmood. I apologize for airing out my frustration as well.
Oh, not a problem. Well, I fully concur with the comments made by committee members Hepburn and Lyons, but it did prompt a question in my mind, as well as the chair, I should say. And that is the reason that Turnbull Canyon's preferred alternative is the elevated road because there's less potential delay caused by UP? I would think that with an elevated roadway that they would have less of an opportunity to weigh in on the design. Because obviously we want to avoid this type of protracted delay as much as possible. And I think Turnbull, other than Montebello, are the two final projects.
Well, I'll defer to the Turnbull Canyon team, but my guess is that the UP right-of-way extends even above areas. I don't know how far or high up it goes, but I think you still may be dealing with UP approvals as you build over their right-of-way.
Well, I do think, as I recall, Montebello is going to prove another challenge, and whatever we can do to try to get ahead of this as much as possible by, if nothing else, writing to UP and tell them how much money they are now costing us because of their delay on this project and how urgently we expect them to work with us on the Montebello project, I think would be a good idea. My other comment is I know several of my committee members are leaving after this month, and I just hope that you have that the COG has a heck of a party once this project is finally completed, and that us alums are invited to celebrate the completion of this very frustrating project that has consumed certainly a lot of committee discussion time.
Indeed, I agree with you 100%. Okay, let's Member Hepburn.
Sorry, just a real quick go back. As we stated before, I think our Ms. Crater, our director, I think we need to put just a short blurb together. I know we talked about this last time, but I think it's paramount that we do this right away as part of put the just the estimated losses that we've had so far as cost overruns and delays, but also this one, as we say, this is the icing on the cake. And I think this is very important that we get this to our Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, get it to her right away. I have no problem hand delivering it, or I think it'd be best if we hand delivered as electeds at this point, but it'd be properly laid out to just give a nice little blurb of how, where, and why. And we need to give this to them because I think we need to focus on the tax dollars that they're spending, that they're wasting and basically throwing it down the drain because of the fact that they're not cautious and concerned about these projects. It's more about their own facilitation of their railroad and let alone tax dollars that people are spending. So I think it's very important. So if we could have that conversation, I think we need to do this right away. And I do agree with Ms. Mahmood that this is important to get ahead of the Montebello because that's going to be a real challenge of a project. So get this beforehand. So I'll do whatever I can on my part.
Absolutely.
Whatever I need to do.
Thank you. Yes, yes, definitely.
Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, just a few more comments of my own, and I mean, I don't know, airing my feelings, but it's not only just that it seems as if, they're just complicated or difficult. It gets to a point where it almost feels like some of this is intentional, and it doesn't, like, none of this makes sense. I mean, they're so uncooperative. I can't get over the fact that they're not willing to work with us to try and make this smoother. I mean, that benefits everyone. And then for them to do something like this, which just, this is just like salt in the wounds after, we have been fighting and, basically begging for them to cooperate with us, and then to do something of this nature is just like, it's shocking, actually. So anyway, I apologize if we do. Do we have any other questions or comments on these presentations? All right, Gary, thank you so much. And I know that you were not looking forward to having to bring that news to the members, but I do appreciate your clarity and detail on the matter. So if there's nothing further, then that will bring us to item number 9, which is my report. And Diana mentioned as well that we do have some of our members who will not be returning, whether you didn't, choose to run for election again. And so at this moment, I want to express my deep appreciation for Member Lyons and Member Mahmood for your years of service, not just on this board, but on multiple. I know you've served on multiple boards and committees, as well as to your commitment to your own cities. And I just want to thank both of you. And I'm sure that the rest of the members will agree, and we'll go ahead and take comments if we haven't. I see that Member Hepburn would like to say a few words as well. So Tim, go ahead.
And let me add also, I believe Member Jakubowski as well.
Oh, okay.
But I did come late to the party.
You're right. I apologize.
It's been an absolute blessing to be serving with all of you. And I say that we've been on job meetings. We've been on some really heated discussions, and the changes of our construction committee have been all positive because of the input. And I so appreciate Diana Mahmood's attorney aspect of it to basically open our eyes to the reality of what we're looking at, to make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's. And Chair Lyons also for her focus and leadership also, and also to Ms. Jakubowski's leadership and just common sense. It's just nice to have all these different people with all these different inputs, because we may miss something on little piece that's so important. And to bring this to us, and this whole committee was put together because we were very concerned, and rightfully so. We were very concerned about how things went. And as these two entities merged, I think it's better because of the individuals that all the individuals involved, but especially to those that have committed so much time, being Nancy Lyons, Diana Mahmood, and Susan Jakubowski. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You will be tremendously missed, and it's been a great learning experience for myself. So thank you all.
Thank you. President Shevlin.
Yes, I agreed with Tim, and I just want to, this is mostly for Diana's benefit. You weren't able to be present for our governing board meeting, but everyone had to listen to me talk for a lot that meeting. But we had many nice things to say about you, Diana, and truly you will be really missed. I mean, we go back quite a few years, and especially in water issues. So you will be missed, and as well, Nancy and Susan. So thank you so very much for your contributions. But definitely, Diana, just so you know, we said a lot of nice things about you at the governing board meeting.
Thank you very much, President Shevlin. If that is it for the comments from members, I do think that, so I believe that there are some pretty cool customized hard hats that are going to be presented. If Carrie could share and talk about how we're going to get these to the members and for the
Yes, thank you, Chair Moss. So I'm going to hold up Member Mahmood's hat. I don't know if you can see it. but it's
Put it
got.
a little closer, yeah, because your blurred background, but there you go. Well, it's tough.
Sorry.
I think we get the idea, though.
Put it on your head.
So it's regulation hard hat with the Sgvcog logo and your name. And on the side, it says Capital Projects and Construction Committee Member 2019 to 2022. And then for Member Jakubowski, it's the same thing. On the side, it says Capital Projects and Construction Committee Member 2022. COG staff will be contacting both of you to make arrangements to either have these hard hats shipped to you or hand delivered. Member Mahmood, I live in South Pasadena, so I can even walk this over to you. It will help with a fitness challenge that we are involved in here at the COG. Help me get my steps in. But anyway, whatever you prefer, Yanine will be in touch with both of you, and you can just let us know how you want this delivered to both of you. So thank you very much for your time on the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all the kind words. I really regret I actually had to miss the governing board because I have a friend who lectures a master's program in public works and public policy at Cal State Long Beach. And for the past several years, he's asked me to deliver a lecture to his graduate students on water. And I was on my way to Cal State Long Beach to do that. So I couldn't attend, but thank you very much. All of your kind words are very much appreciated. And I am always just a phone call away. I do intend to stay involved on both water and energy. I will continue as an alternate board member to the Clean Power Alliance for my city. And I am a board member for Water Education for Latino Leaders, which is a really helpful organization. If you ever want to learn more about water, that's why we were established. And I'm so pleased that the Monrovia City Council decided on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, Madam President, for your support. You will not be disappointed. I am really excited to report that the Clean Power Alliance for the next 6 months, even our 100% renewable energy rate is going to be lower than Edison's base rate.
Oh, wow. Very good. And Diana, I think that we all owe you a huge debt of gratitude for all of your hard work on the MS4 permits and helping so many cities to save tremendous amounts of money. And so, I'm sure that we are all very, very grateful to you for that. And if there are no further comments, then I think that's going to take us to closed session.
Yes, thank you, Chair Moss. So the closed session is conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. The property is 405 South Del Mar in San Gabriel. The negotiators are Executive Director Marissa Creeder and General Counsel David Berry. Negotiating parties are the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust and the San Gabriel Valley Council of Government. And under negotiation is price in terms of payment. And you need after the closed session, we'll need to come back out into open session just to adjourn. There won't be anything to report out. But Marissa, would you be able to text her and let her know when we're done?
Yep.
Okay.
So we need to have everyone that's not part of the closed session leave, and Janine needs to shut down the live stream, and then we can start with the little red light still on.
Yes, let me stop the live streaming and I'll double check and lock the room.
That's correct. There's no reportable action.
All right, if there's nothing further, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and look forward to seeing you all in the year. And this meeting is adjourned. I apologize. The next regular meeting, I don't have it, and I didn't catch it before we went off. So We'll be notified. There you go, January
Happy
23rd.
Thanksgiving all.
Happy
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, President Diana.
Right through. Bye-bye.
Nancy, bye.
Bye-bye.
Y'all, bye-bye.
Bye, Nancy. Bye, Diana.